Today at Manchester Theatres, I have to say I'm having a lovely Monday afternoon because I am here with Joe Meighan, Artistic Director of the Altrincham Garrick. Now, Joe is also a trained actor, he is a director, and he joined the Garrick in 2020, where alongside the operations manager, Sarah Riley, he has brought us some fantastic productions, really cracking shows, and they've only gone and done it again because they have a programme coming up that is absolutely fabulous. So we're here to talk all about it. We're going to be talking about award-winning stories, the royal family, female playwrights, Olivier-winning Sondheim musicals. Yes, I said the Sondheim word. So let's talk all about it. And thank you very much for joining me, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So the first one that you've got coming up, not that far away, actually, it starts on the 6th of May, and we have The Father. So many may know it as the film that Anthony Hopkins was in, but can you tell us all about this story and what drew you to it? What made you choose this one?
Well, obviously, as we've spoken about before, one thing we try and do at Altrincham Garrick is offer something for everybody. That's kind of one of the things that we really drive home here. And we wanted an important drama that kind of shone a light on areas and stories that we don't always talk about. And I'd seen the film, actually. I'd seen the Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman film a few years back, and I knew there was a play version, and it was just one of the things that ended up on my desk. And I read it, and having had a personal connection to dementia, and I knew that a lot of people at the theatre had as well, it kind of felt like the right story to tell. And we also felt that it's a story that's not always represented in theatre and in film as well. I think that was probably one of the things that really drew people to the movie, was the fact that it was kind of, I've not seen this on screen before. And it's almost an exact replica of what you see on the film. In fact, Florian Zeller, who wrote the play, wrote the screenplay, but also directed the film. So there's a real connection between the two pieces. But I think, as is often the way, because it's live and it's in front of you. I was actually in a rehearsal yesterday. They did one of the full run-throughs, and it's incredibly powerful. I mean, the performances are brilliant, and the director, Charlie Tomlinson, has really kind of brought the message out of the play beautifully. We've also got an original score composed for it by Pete Grimshaw, which really adds to the scenes and the character development and everything. So it was a really special run through yesterday, and I think we're sort of a week away from open now, so I'm excited to see it through tech and dress rehearsals before we open.
And you're doing this together in supporting Together Dementia.
Together Dementia support. Yeah. So, I mean, actually, The Father was part of last season's programme, and because of a couple of health reasons within the company, we had to postpone it. So it feels like quite a long time coming. And we linked up with Together Dementia Support last year, basically to say, we're doing this play that's got this really important message, this really important story. How do we then go beyond the stage? What other work can we do? And obviously, Altrincham Garrick is a charity, but we try to support other charities as much as we can. So, we did some early link-up work with them, and then they kind of came on board as a partner, really. And so they'll be present at every performance. There'll be volunteers and staff from Together Dementia Support, and they'll have literature and also, if audience members want to donate to them. But they do a lot of really amazing work with people, living with dementia, but also the families and the friends and the carers of that individual. And just, I guess, a way of supporting them at a really difficult time.
I have to commend you for that and say thank you, because it's something that has touched many of us. It's touched people that I know as well. And to have a play that represents this kind of thing and to go and watch it is important. And we say that, art and theatre can educate, but then to actually back that up, to have people there on hand that you can talk to, that you can donate to, that can support it is brilliant. So thank you. That's something really special. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think it's sort of our duty, really, in producing the play, and also the company. It's a fantastic cast, and the performances that I saw yesterday in the rehearsal room were amazing. So I'm sure now with another week of rehearsal, when it's on stage, will be fantastic. But there's an awful lot of people in the company that have been personally touched by it as well. So everyone's got this kind of sense of duty and care with the play, which I think has enhanced it as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very emotional, but very special, I think, as well.
Yeah. And also, what's great about it, like all drama and like life, it's in these really sad, somber moments there is light, and there's lots of positivity in the play. There's lots of funny moments. There's some really touching moments, really moving moments. So it's a really powerful drama, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be. And then following that, it couldn't be more different, because the next one is The Audience. Now, I didn't know a lot about this one, so I have been reading up on it, and it's very on brand at the minute, I have to say, because it's all about the royals and what's going on. So tell us a bit about this one.
Yeah, so The Audience is a play by Peter Morgan, who a lot of people might know is the head writer on The Crown. So in fact, there are huge sections of this play that the dialogue is almost from the Crown. Wow. And it tells the story of the weekly meetings that Queen Elizabeth II, the monarch, has with the prime ministers. And so it spans, the particular version that we're producing spans from Winston Churchill all the way to David Cameron. And so there's kind of 60 years of history here, although it's not told in chronological order, which is one of the really clever things that Peter Morgan's done with it. It's kind of told through a different narrative that the Queen is going through. But of course, the Queen is on stage the entire time and has to go back in time, forward in time. And so the director, Mike Shaw, has also designed the costumes. There's some really quick, clever transformations that happen in front of the audience's eyes. Sort of Queen Elizabeth II go from younger to older, and very different parts of her life. So the audience is literally what the weekly meeting between the Prime Minister and the Queen was called. And so it's a kind of factual but fictional retelling of what some of these conversations may have, but also some really interesting points in history as well that they're discussing. And there's a really, I think, quite a spectacular end of Act One where the coronation is recreated on stage.
Oh, wow.
And having seen the costumes already, it's going to look spectacular. It really is. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think it is with us all? We can't get enough of the royals, can we? Even those people that don't, who say, "Oh, I don't like the royals," they're still talking about it. They still have an opinion.
But I think the Crown has got a lot to say for that. Actually, the Netflix series. Everyone has kind of got a connection to it, and I've watched it and I just thought it was brilliant. And I think it's the history alongside the monarchy that is really interesting. But as you say, it's very on brand at the minute with all the different stories of the royal family. It seems like it was quite a topical time to be doing it, and with the fact that The Crown has just finished, it's just a final series. So it's been an interesting one. Again, we've got a fantastic cast. I mean, it was quite an odd thing to be auditioning, really. You're sort of meeting different Margaret Thatchers and Harold Wilsons going, oh, yeah, okay, different queens. And what's really lovely in this version is, as I say, there's one actress who plays the Queen throughout her adult life, but there's also a young Elizabeth. And there's some really beautiful scenes between older Elizabeth talking to her child. The child version of Elizabeth is almost kind of saying, what kind of queen will I be? And the play, was written about 10 years ago, and now there's a whole new aspect of it because, sadly Queen Elizabeth II is with us. And so some of the speeches now have got a whole new kind of poignant meaning to them. I think
it alters, doesn't it?
So I think it'll be quite, again, another quite powerful, profound experience, really. And I think in many ways, because of what's happened in recent years, the play, it means something different now than it did when it was written. And so that's been quite interesting to look at.
Yeah. So anyone who's mopping up the tears over the ending of The Crown, there you go. Same writer, you can go along to that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you really will recognise some of the dialogue, and
Yeah.
obviously some of it is historically accurate as well, which is great.
Yeah. And then following that, we've got another play by, is it you're part of your female playwright
Yeah,
initiative?
yeah,
Di, Viv and Rose.
yeah,
This one sounds really, really fun. So tell me, well, as fun and kind of serious at the same
yeah,
time. So
yeah,
tell me a
yeah.
little bit about this one.
Well, as you say, Viv and Rose is the final play in our studio season, and the studio season all this year has been about female playwrights, female directors, female actors, and so this play really is all about friend. To be honest, that's the end of the season, really, because I'm sure we'll talk about it in a minute. But Merrily We Roll Along is about friendship as well, and so in both our theatres, both our spaces, the kind of the conclusion of both seasons really is a kind of summary of friendship. But Diane, Viv and Rose spans about 16 years of time. These three friends who move into a student house together. They're all at university, and they're from three very different walks of life, and they become these three very best friends, sort of sisters, through everything and anything that life throws at them. We see the power of their friendship. And of course, as with all friendships, there's fallouts, there's huge tests that come their way, but there's a kind of resilience to the characters that runs through it. In fact, they just started rehearsal yesterday, and the three actors did a table read with the director and a few of the crew, and I caught a little bit of the second act, and already that was really sort of coming off the page, and there's great chemistry between the three women. So yeah, I think that'll be really lovely. And the great thing about our studio is it's a 50-seater and it's super intimate. So you're really in the space with those characters and with that story.
Yeah, there's something, we all love the big theatres and everything, and but there is something unique about doing such a small, intimate space, isn't there? It's a completely, for anyone who's never done it, it is a completely different experience. And that doesn't mean that you're on display, but it pulls you into the story for just in a way that you can't get if you sat at the back of, a 2,000-seater or something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we get a lot of feedback from our audience members here, where people say, "Oh, I love being in the studio because I just feel like it's just for me," and there is that kind of extra personal connection to the play, I think.
Then we have the biggie. Well, they're all big, but I say that because you're taking on Sondheim. I mean, come on, you need a round of applause just for that. Merrily We Roll Along. It's Olivier award-winning, Tony. It's just won everything, hasn't it? And you've got just this friendship story, but showbiz. It's all about showbiz, isn't it? So tell us about this one for anyone who doesn't know it.
Well, last season we closed the season with the Sondheim musical. We produced Into the Woods,
Yes.
which arguably, I guess, one of Sondheim's more famous musicals, especially since the Disney adaptation of it. And I'd said for quite a long time that the following season we would be doing the Sondheim, and I think
didn't put you off.
No, it definitely didn't put me off. No, I think people were quite shocked at first about Merrily We Roll Along because it's quite rarely produced now, but for me, it's one of his more accessible music. I mean, I love Sondheim, and I would sort of watch a different Sondheim show a night. But for some people who aren't overly familiar with his work, I would say that Merrily We Roll Along is one of the more accessible shows, and it's got a great Broadway feel to it, but also this really intense heart at the center of the story. And I guess it's an interesting piece because its convention is that the story is told backwards. So at the beginning of the show we see these three friends who are slightly estranged from one another, and I guess the audience are really asking the questions of, well, who are these people to one another? And as we travel backwards in time, we realize that there was a time when these three were completely and utterly inseparable, and again, it's about life and about what life does to people and friendships and relationships. But I guess with Merrily, there's this extra layer, which is what the price of fame and success brings to those relationships. And yeah, and it's a great big Broadway extravaganza as well. The three writers, the three lead characters are three writers. One writes novels, one writes plays, one writes music, and there's some collaboration between them at times, and there's some solo work. But yeah, it sort of reminds me in many ways of shows like A Chorus Line or 42nd Street. They're very much about creative people, and it's a showbiz show, if you know what I mean. It's kind of for people that are creative and artistic, and there's a kind of warmth to it that's recognizable, and it's got some fantastic songs in it.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like, I know I've been joking there, and just to clarify, when I was saying, oh, it's not put you off, I don't mean because Sondheim's bad. I mean because Sondheim is so notoriously difficult.
Yes,
so brilliant. That's what I meant, just to clarify to anybody who's thinking she doesn't like Sondheim. No, I didn't. But yeah, the music. I mean, I saw Old Friends in London.
Oh wow, did you?
When it was on, and so that's one of the songs, isn't it? I mean, the music. We've got Old Friends, Our Time, and it's just gorgeous. Is it stuck in your head?
It has been for, I think, ever since we announced it. It's just been going round and round and round and round. But yeah, I mean, every song is just fantastic in it, and as you say, there's some really kind of famous, iconic Sondheim songs in there, and I can't wait for audiences to be here to see it.
So you've mentioned a couple of the directors from the different shows. How do you choose which ones you are personally going to direct, and when you're going to be bringing people into it? Is it a logistics of when you've got time? Is it, I have to do that one, or
a little bit of both in a way, really? I think there are some that there are certain sections in the year where I kind of know, right, at that point of the year, I will be directing something, and and what is that going to be? Is that a musical? Is that a drama? Is that a comedy or whatever? But yeah, I mean, with the audience in particular, Mike Shaw, who's directing it and who's also designed all the costumes and everything. I mean, what Mike doesn't know about history in the royal family sort of isn't worth knowing. So it's kind of the most obvious person to work on it. And Charlie Tomlinson, who's directing the father, had a real connection to the piece, and sort of had a vision for it that I thought, well, that's absolutely the way to go with this. And then Helen Horridge, who's directing Viv and Rose. I just knew that Helen would understand the nuance of the characters and the story and the writing. And even yesterday, when she was in the read through, I just knew it was in a very safe pair of hands, but we're all, I always meet with new directors, and we're always kind of looking to expand the pool here. But there are also some kind of regular directors, almost in-house directors, really, that we have here. So yeah, it sort of depends, and in some ways, the plays almost pick the directors in a way. Once the plays are in the slots, I kind of know. Yeah, I think I know who we need for that one. Sort of goes from there.
You've also got quite a few nights, like one-nighters of visiting productions as well, haven't you? You've got a few different like tribute kind shows, from Pink Floyd to Take That to Dolly Parton, the Bee Gees. I mean, it's so varied. You've got Manford's Comedy Club coming back. You've got burlesque nights. I mean, you've got basically a varied program. So there really is something for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah. As I said before, that really is the aim. But what's great about the visiting shows and is that the theatre sort of transforms for each show. So we've got like a show called 80s Live that's coming in where it will almost become like a nightclub in there. It's great. Dancing and they've got these fantastic lighting arrangements that they do within the show and live singing and everything. So it's just great when the venue kind of becomes a gig venue, and then the next night, as you say, Manford's Comedy Club might be on and everyone's just having a laugh. So it becomes a really flexible space, which is great. And also, it's really nice for us to have a different show in every night for a week. It keeps an excitement in the place.
Well, I guess as well, when it's a visiting production, you can kind of, I mean, I know it's your venue, so you've got work to do, but it's a different, you're in a different position, aren't you? So you're almost going in as an audience going, oh, I can watch something and relax.
Quite like sneaking into the sound checks and hearing how they're sounding and everything. But it is. It's nice because also the shows generally have been out on tour, so they've been out on the road, and you get a feel for how the tour is doing and how the show is doing. So it's quite nice to welcome them in and also just to kind of share the space with the artists and see how they're getting on. And it's a really nice time when we have visiting shows in.
And I was going to ask you just before we go, because I wanted to ask last time and I never got round to it because I talked too much, but your play reading, tell me about your play reading.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, we've got a play reading on Friday this week. So it's always on the first Friday of the month.
Okay.
And they're generally led by one of our in-house directors, Carol Carr, although we do sometimes have guest directors in as well. So it's the first Friday of every month. It lasts for about 3 hours. It's literally like £5 on the door, and there's tea and coffee and biscuits and everything, and everyone collects in our theatre bar, and we just read a play and then we discuss the play afterwards. And sometimes people might read a character for a whole act, or they might swap it out every scene, or sometimes we have people that just kind of are listeners. They're in the room, but they're kind of listening to the play. And it's for anybody and everybody, really. You don't have to be an actor. You don't have to have a desire to be an actor. It's just coming. And I guess really it's a social thing as much as anything else. And it's just nice to have a kind of creativity, but to have this shared connection to a text. And we'll pick different plays for each month. So sometimes, we might do quite an obscure drama, and then the next time we might read a musical, or we might read a brand new comedy, or, in fact, sometimes I quite like to go down and listen to it, especially if it's something that I think we might be interested in. At some point, it's nice just to hear something out loud, but it's really, really enjoyable. It's a great buzz in the building when play reading's on.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea. I really love it. I thought, is this what it sounds like? And it really is. It does what it says on the tin, and it's a brilliant idea. It's so simple, but such a great, like you say, social community thing where people who love theatre, but the idea of getting on a stage might terrify them, they can still be involved.
Absolutely. Or, we have quite a few actors who, you used to act here quite a lot, but have maybe decided, my acting days are up, or they maybe don't learn lines as well as they used to, or something like that. It's kind of their way of branching out without having the pressure, if you like, of having to get on stage and perform for however many performances that we're doing. Yeah,
it's honestly, it's brilliant. And I've got to say, you've just got it going on at the Altrincham Garrick. It's from the program, the shows that you've got coming up, to the visiting productions, the other things. I mean, I know we've talked in the past, but you've got your youth productions, your classes. There's so much going on. Your cinema things that you do. It really is.
Oh, sorry. We are hoping to branch out more with the classes, actually. So, in fact, in June, we've got a couple of accent workshops for actors coming up that we're literally just about to launch now. And we're hoping to do even more of that kind of thing in the future, so that we really do become just a creative hub for the community.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, all the best. The first show, The Father, starts on the 6th of May, so you do not have long to wait. All the best with your season, and you'll be seeing me roundabout somewhere lurking, going. So, thank you as always for chatting with us, Joe, and we will see you soon.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.